The night began like so many others, comfortable, predictable, safe. Soft music hummed in the background, low enough to be ignored but loud enough to fill the silences. The room smelled faintly of citrus and wine. Laughter came easily, the kind that only happens when people know each other too well. We were 4 people who trusted one another. Or at least, that's what I believed then. I sat close to my partner, our knees touching, a familiar warmth grounding me. Across from us, our friends mirrored the same ease, relaxed posture, shared glances, inside jokes that needed no explanation. We had crossed the line from acquaintances to something closer long ago. Dinners like this had become routine, almost ritual. I remember thinking how harmless it all felt. Someone poured another drink. Glasses clinked. Time slowed in that way it does when the world feels small and contained. No consequences. No sharp edges. Just comfort. Then the conversation shifted. It wasn't sudden. It crept there quietly, wrapped in humor. A joke at first, something said with a laugh, meant to shock more than suggest. We all laughed. I laughed too, a little too quickly, but the joke didn't die. It lingered in the air, heavier than before. Someone tilted their head, eyes curious instead of amused. Another sip of wine, a pause that stretched just long enough to feel intentional. What if, they said casually, as if talking about changing seats or picking a different movie, it was just for one night. The words landed softly, but they echoed. I felt my body react before my mind did, a tightening in my chest, a warmth I didn't want to acknowledge. I told myself it was embarrassment. Surprise. Nothing more. I glanced at my partner. Their expression was unreadable. Calm. Thoughtful. That scared me more than shock would have. Inside my head, everything started talking at once. This is wrong. It's just a thought. Everyone here is an adult. You don't have to say yes. Why does the idea feel dangerous? No one rushed to answer. Silence wrapped around us, thick and intimate. I noticed small things, fingers tracing the rim of a glass, a foot shifting closer, eyes avoiding mine and then finding them again. I told myself it was nothing. Just curiosity. Just words. But curiosity has weight. I tried to imagine the line we were being asked to cross. Tried to picture it clearly so I could reject it. Yet every time I did, the image blurred, less scandalous than I expected, more tempting than I wanted. I mean, someone added lightly, breaking the tension, only if everyone's comfortable. Comfortable. The word felt ironic. My heart was beating too fast for comfort. My thoughts felt loud. I searched for certainty in my partner's face, hoping to see refusal reflected there so I wouldn't have to be the one to say it. Instead, I saw hesitation. And in that hesitation, something shifted. Nothing had happened yet. No promises. No decisions. But I knew, deep down, that the night had already changed. Because once an idea is planted, it doesn't need permission to grow. And as the laughter slowly returned, nervous, uncertain, I realized with a quiet sense of fear that part of me was already wondering. What if we didn't say no? The night stretched on, each hour slower than the last. What had begun as a joke had become an unspoken tension, heavy and persistent. I tried to focus on the conversation, on the casual jokes, the music, the soft glow of the lamps, but my mind kept circling back to the thought I was told to dismiss. I told myself I could handle it. After all, it was just an idea. Nothing had happened. No one had acted yet. Yet every glance, every laugh, every subtle touch felt charged with possibility. We moved to the living room. The air smelled of vanilla candles, but the scent didn't calm me. It heightened awareness. Every movement was sharper, every breath more deliberate. I noticed how my partner's hand lingered near mine, how our friend's eyes flickered at us, at me. There was an unspoken invitation in the way the gaze held mine too long, and I couldn't look away. We laughed, yet the laughter was different now. Tense, fragile. I felt it in my chest, a flutter I tried to ignore. I repeated the mantra in my head, I can stop this anytime. I'm in control. Then came the moment we all knew but refused to name. No one spoke. No one moved first. But the air shifted as if it understood our unspoken agreement. I felt a rush of adrenaline, sharp and terrifying. My heart was loud in my ears. Every nerve felt alive, waiting, knowing. I caught my reflection in the darkened glass of the window. Eyes wide, breath shallow, fingers fidgeting with the rim of my glass. There was a part of me that wanted to flee, to run back to safety, to cling to what I had before this chaos. And yet, another part, louder, more insistent, wanted to see what it would feel like. Hands brushed, a whisper of skin, a heartbeat away. The tension made words unnecessary. Every glance, every motion, every pause was heavy with meaning. I could almost taste the thrill in the air. I tried to reason it away. Just one night, just for fun, nothing will change. But I knew, deep down, that we were already crossing a line we could never uncross. Then came the silence that said everything. The pause before a step forward, before the first boundary broke, before the moment became irreversible. I closed my eyes, telling myself I could stop. But when I opened them again, I realized we had already started, in thought, in desire, in anticipation. I can't tell you exactly what happened next, not with words. The rest was a blur of warmth, nervous laughter, and unspoken promises. It was intimate, yes, but more than that, it was different. Closer than I expected, and more dangerous. The kind of closeness that lingers in your blood long after bodies separate. By the time the night ended, the air was thick with unsaid words. No one wanted to talk. No one wanted to acknowledge the change that had occurred. But we all knew it. Every look was heavy, every smile strained, every step hesitant. I lay awake that night, replaying moments in my mind, every glance, every touch, every shiver that I couldn't name. And I understood, with a quiet, sinking certainty, that nothing would ever be simple again. Because once you cross a line, even for a single night, you can't erase it. And the night had only just begun to leave its mark. Morning arrived quietly, almost cruelly, with a pale light that made everything seem too clear. The world outside the window looked the same, but inside, nothing felt right. The room smelled faintly of yesterday's wine and lingering perfume, familiar yet alien. I woke with my mind already racing, every memory of the night replaying like a film I couldn't pause. I lay there, tangled in the sheets, pretending to sleep as my partner moved around the room. There was a careful normality in their actions, a brush of hair, a stretch of limbs, but I could feel the subtle difference, the tension that hadn't existed the night before. Their smiles seemed strained, their eyes heavier, guarded. I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened, about what we had crossed, about the look on my friend's face, the way they had lingered in the moments between laughter and touch. I could feel the echo of every decision reverberating inside me, in my chest, in my stomach. A strange mix of guilt and longing churned relentlessly. We sat at the table, the breakfast untouched for longer than necessary. Words were minimal, conversations polite but clipped. There was an unspoken awareness that yesterday had shifted everything. I noticed small things, the way my partner's hand hovered near mine, hesitant to touch, the way our friends avoided my gaze, the subtle stiffness in the air. I tried to rationalize it. It was one night, nothing changed. It was just experimentation. But the more I tried, the less convincing it felt. Because inside, I knew I had felt something I wasn't supposed to, something deep, something forbidden, something that had left a trace that wouldn't fade. Guilt clawed at me, but not entirely. There was also a strange sweetness in the memory, a magnetism that I didn't want to admit. I kept catching myself remembering the warmth, the laughter, the thrill of stepping across a boundary that had seemed untouchable. My heart ached with contradiction, wanting to forget and unable to let go. By midday, I found myself alone in the quiet of my apartment, the echo of the night following me like a shadow. I kept replaying small moments, glances, touches, smiles, that seemed innocent yet charged with new meaning. My own thoughts felt like strangers, unfamiliar and uncontrollable. The day dragged, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. Every notification, every familiar sound, every corner of the room seemed to pull me back into that night. I realized, painfully, that the night had changed me. It had altered the way I looked at my partner, at our friends, at myself. And the more I tried to regain normalcy, the more I realized that the emotional consequences were far more potent than the physical ones. I had stepped into a world of feelings I wasn't prepared for, a world where curiosity had become obsession, and desire had become guilt. By the time evening came, I felt the undeniable truth settle in: there was no going back. The night had left a mark, invisible but permanent, and I didn't know how to navigate the aftermath. Because sometimes, it isn't the act itself that haunts you, it's what the act makes you feel afterward. And those feelings were just beginning to take hold. If you want, I can continue with part 4, the unresolved emotional climax, which ties the story into lingering obsession and ends on a dramatic, thought-provoking note perfect for faceless video narration. Do you want me to write part 4 next? Days passed, but the night refused to leave me. It lingered in the small spaces of my life, the hum of traffic outside my window, the quiet corners of my apartment, even the rhythm of my own breathing. Every ordinary moment became a trigger. A song on the radio made me think of their laugh. A stray scent reminded me of the brush of a hand I shouldn't have wanted to touch. Every memory replayed itself in vivid detail, impossible to ignore. I tried to focus on my partner, on the life we had built together, on the familiar comfort of our routines. But it was impossible. Their face appeared in my thoughts in a way that belonged to someone else now, someone forbidden yet unforgettable. The intimacy we had shared, brief as it was, had left an echo in my chest that refused to fade. I found myself asking questions I didn't want answers to. Did they feel the same way? Was it only me who remembered differently? Did I cross a line I could never step back from? Every interaction since then had been careful, deliberate, as though walking on cracked glass. I laughed when I should have laughed, smiled when I should have smiled, but my mind was elsewhere. Every glance from my partner now carried weight, every text from my friend seemed coded, every ordinary moment filled with unspoken possibilities. I was trapped in a loop of memory and anticipation, unable to separate desire from guilt. I realized, with a sinking certainty, that what had been meant to be, just one night, had transformed into something far more complex. I wasn't thinking about the act itself, I was thinking about them, about what it had awakened in me. A longing that was impossible to satisfy, a curiosity that refused to die, and a fear that nothing could ever return to the way it was. The nights became longer. Sleep came reluctantly, if at all. I would close my eyes and see their face, feel their presence, hear their laugh as if it were a whisper behind my eyelids. And in the silence, I wondered if they were thinking of me too, or if I was alone in this obsession. I tried to distract myself, work, errands, even small errands, but every ordinary task became colored with the memory of that night. Every familiar place held new meaning. Every ordinary sound became a reminder. And I began to understand a truth that terrified me: some experiences don't end when the night does. Some nights follow you, long after the laughter fades, long after the doors close, long after everyone pretends nothing happened. I don't know what will happen next. I don't know if I will speak of it, if the relationships I thought were stable will survive, or if I will ever stop thinking about them. All I know is that my thoughts are no longer my own. They belong to a night I can't undo and to a feeling I can't escape. And in the quiet moments, when I am alone with my own mind, I ask myself the question that haunts me the most. Was it just a mistake, or the beginning of something I can't control? If you want, I can now turn all 4 parts into a polished, faceless video narration script, adding timed cues, visual prompts, and atmospheric details to make it fully ready for YouTube or TikTok storytelling. Do you want me to do that next?